Before we get into the show, there is a way that you can help support the show. A very easy way, in fact.
If you go to our website, eatlunchandboardgame.com, click on the Get the Games tab. There we have affiliate links to many of the games and books we have talked about. If you're interested in purchasing any, by clicking on the link, a small portion of your purchase will go to us.
But we promise to use the money wisely by buying more games to review.
We take our jobs very seriously.
Now on with this great episode.
I cannot remember exactly how I heard of Subsearch, a 1973 Milton Bradley release by an uncredited designer and artist. I'm sure it was some book I was reading that talked about games that are similar to, or based on, other games, and this one happened to be Battleship. Anyway, when I looked into it, Subsearch looked like a 3D take on the beloved classic. Battleship is a staple in my family. We even have a travel version for road trips. I scoured the internet, but I couldn't quite bring myself to pull the trigger. Then, my game dealer, like a drug dealer but not as unhealthy or illegal, got a copy, and I couldn't resist. Oddly, it sat unplayed for months. After Edward and I had played through the entire Rivals Edition series, we needed a break from the classics. Yet Subsearch, in its overly large box, stared at us until we gave in. In Subsearch, you and your rival naval commander are trying to rid the other of their fleet of either the boats or the subs to claim victory in the seas. Launch torpedoes, drop depth charges, and place your mine on your quest for ocean superiority. Alright, welcome back to the Lunch and Board Game. I'm your host, Adam Collins. Let's take a look at the rule clarity for Subsearch. Well, with the game being made in 1973, the rule sheets are exactly as I would expect. They were not too bad, but they were not too good either. The first 10 pages explains just how to set up the double-sided three-dimensional board. The last 4 pages are the actual rules. The rules themselves are fairly straightforward, unlike the assembly instructions. There are a few rules, but they are very specific and important to follow on both sides of the attacks. Time to explain to newcomers. After Edward and I got the center play area built, there were some discrepancies between the assembly instructions and the board itself had instructions that didn't quite go together. The rules were straightforward and easy to explain. It took us less than 10 minutes to read them. Future game explanations should take no more than about 5 minutes. Gameplay. After the arduous task of setting up the actual board, putting up the walls, setting the depth boards, and sorting the pieces, each player selects either the yellow or red navy. The choice is based on which color the top surface level is on your right. Now, why did they choose red? No idea. There's all the colors. They chose red, but then there's white and red pegs. Come on, guys. Pick a different color. Each player then places their 3 submarines on a square numbered 1 through 36 on the 6x6 grid, somewhere on the left side of the board at any depth. 100, 200, or 300. 100, 200, 300 what? Fathoms? Meters? It isn't clear, so I'll go with fathoms. That would be 600, 1200, and 1800 feet, for a fathom is 6 feet. For the 1970s, that seems pretty legit. Nuclear subs today can't go deeper than 2400 feet, and for reference, the Titanic sits at 12,500 feet, and the deepest dive ever in a submersible was set in the 1960s at 35,797 feet. So in comparison, we are pretty shallow for this naval battle. Anyway, back to the game. Each player then loads up their surface boats with white pegs, depth charges, and sets them on one of the arrows on the edge, representing the home port. Lastly, then, each player sets their mine. The mine is set in the 100 fathom level. It cannot be placed in the same space as a submarine. Before we start, 2 things to note. Neither the subs nor the mine will be moving at all during the game. Now, on with the battle! On a naval captain's turn, one surface boat may move 1, 2, or 3 spaces to a new location. Unlike most games, diagonal is allowed. Once in the new space, the other player must announce that the mine is there if it is. The boat has stopped on, not passed through, but stopped on top of the space with the mine. Well, the mine explodes, and the surface vessel blows up and is out of the game. If no mine explodes, the surface boat can drop one of its depth charges. To do so, the captain removes a white peg from the boat and announces at what depth the charge will detonate, 100, 200, or 300. The captain then places the white peg in that location on the associated plotting grid. The other captain now must look at their subs and declare a direct hit, a near miss, or a complete miss. A direct hit is, well, one of your subs is in the space in which the charge detonates, taking out the sub. If this happens, remove the sub from the board. The attacking captain then places a flag on the plotting grid to mark the location. A near miss requires a little thinking on the captain being attacked. You have to think in 3 dimensions. The depth charge detonates in a cross pattern horizontally, and the spaces directly above and below vertically. For instance, a depth charge going off in space 14 at 200 fathoms would hit at 200 directly, then 14 at 100 and 300 fathoms as well, along with the 4 spaces surrounding 14, which on the 6x6 grid would be 8, 13, 15, and 20 on the 200 fathom board. The attack player does not have to tell which space, obviously, but the attacking captain would then mark all 6 of those possible spaces with a red peg. Also, it is important to note how many subs it hit in those 6 spaces. You could hit 1, 2, or all 3 subs of your opponent if you are lucky enough, or if you're the other guy, unlucky enough. A complete miss, then, is the depth charge detonates and nothing is in the area of the boom. The attacking captain then can mark off all 7 spaces with white pegs. Lastly, before the turn ends, the attacking captain may choose to launch a torpedo from one of the subs. To do this, simply announce you are taking this action, which lane, which boat in the lane you're attacking if there are multiple, and then spin the spinner. If the spinner hits on approximately an 11% chance, 1 in 9, we did the math with a protractor because, game nerds. The boat attacked explodes and is out of the game. If the spinner lands on the miss portion of the spinner track, you have just alerted your adversary that you have a sub in one of the 6 spaces in that lane. Be careful when you take this action. Other things to note. The boat attacking must have a depth charge in order to drop one. If a boat is out, it can return to port via one of the arrows and reload. It can come back and play next turn via any of the arrows, not just the one it left from. Lastly, a boat does not have to drop a depth charge on a turn, but the attacking captain may still launch a torpedo. The first captain to eliminate either the 3 surface boats or the 3 submarines wins the game. Replayability. I have always thought Battleship needed something else, some way of counterattacking. Once your opponent has narrowed in on you, you're just a sitting duck. With the torpedo action, you can attempt to rid the board in a defensive strike. Yes, you are alerting your opponent that you're in that lane, but if you're close to getting discovered, why not fight back? Also, the use of the pegs as depth charges and having to go back to reload is fantastic. It gives you choices. Do I leave a boat out knowing it is in the same lane as a sub so I can reload a different boat? Do I move it to keep it safe and kind of waste the turn and then have to reload anyway? Each could spell a disaster if your opponent is closing in. As soon as we were finished with the game, Edward wanted to play again, as did I, but it was bedtime. Component quality. Well, my copy is complete and from 1973, as pretty much every copy is from 1973, and it still looks great. It is worn, but it is also over 50 years old. The base of the board is a solid molded plastic. The dividers are a thicker chipboard than used today, which I think has helped its longevity. The vertical end caps are molded opaque blue plastic. The plotting grids portion is also molded plastic, with the grids themselves being the thick chipboard. All the boats, submarines, flags, and mines are molded as well and pretty detailed. think of them as the same quality as standard boats of Battleship. The pegs are exactly that of Battleship. The torpedo shot board is also a thick chipboard, and the spinner is a nice molded red torpedo. All in all, the only complaint I have is that it doesn't fit back in the box, even disassembled. Apparently this was an issue when it was produced, and the box came with a cardboard extension belt-like thing just to help. Seems like a company the size of Milton Bradley would have made a box big enough to fit their own game. I cannot fathom that this issue would happen in today's gamer landscape. Lunchtime potential. Indeed, Subsearch is listed at having a playing time of 45 minutes on Board Game Geek. It could easily be played in a shorter time. If you leave the board set up, you'll save more time. You should probably be able to get a game in under 30 minutes. Artwork. There is not a lot of artwork, but what there is great. The plotting grid looks on point. The scenery inside the sub-depth area has nice ambient artwork. The top level looks nice. The box art is good too. All in all, I like the look and feel of the game. Expansions and other. Nope, none. I do wish that someone would make printable replacement pieces for this game and post the files on Thingiverse. I see a lot of copies online that are missing a sub or a boat, perhaps a mine. If only I understood how to 3D model. It would also be nice to print off a different color, so, you don't have red matching the red pegs. Bang for the buck. Oh my goodness, yes. I bought it from my game dealer for about $50. You can find a copy, hopefully complete, on eBay for about $40-ish. Edward and I cannot wait to play it again. There are other strategies that we both want to try out, and I feel like we'll get the wife to play too, so Subsearch should prove a good investment. Summary. Subsearch has an amazing table presence. It just looks impressive. I think it should be noted, Edward went first in our game. His first move was right out on top of my submarine and detonated right on it. So, first move, and I'm down one sub already. I fought back valiantly, and I was able to sink one of his ships with a torpedo and another with my mine. But ultimately, he sunk my last submarine before I could sink his last surface boat, as I had made an assumption early, which cost me finding his remaining sub. Despite its 5.9 with only 371 ratings on Board Game Geek and a weight of 1.46, Subsearch is well worth the adventure to find and procure it. Edward and I left the board intact so we could play again without the setup time. We also are pretty sure we can get the wife to play. Our immediate love of Subsearch has led Edward and I to make the decision to hunt down complete copies of Chopper Strike and Admirals from the same era. Chopper Strike has a clear plastic sky board that is propped up over the land board beneath it. Choppers fly on the sky while tanks move around below. Admirals looks like a combination of Battleship and Stratego, which is another family staple. We're always looking for good two-player games, and these two look like lost gems of the early 1970s, just like Subsearch. And as usual, you can reach out to us at eatlunchandboardgame.com, facebook.com/eatlunchandboardgame. Send us an email at eatlunchandboardgame@gmail.com, and remember, board games build bridges. When you're gaming, why not be comfy? Go over to supportplayer.org. Click on the cards, pieces, and dice to get some merch. These t-shirts are some of the most comfortable I have ever worn. That's supportplayer.org, and there's a link on eatlunchandboardgame.com.